Hello and welcome to the Protist party. I am part of the supergroup SAR, and we consist of groups like the dinoflagellates, the ciliates, the rhydolarians, oomocytes, brown algae, and lastly me, diatoms. We're all grouped together based on our similar DNA sequence, as well as our secondary endosymbiotic event with red algae. My supergroup evolved over 1 billion years ago, and we are some of the most important photosynthetic organisms on Earth. I personally am a eukaryotic unicellular algae. I can be radially or bilaterally symmetrical. We are all microscopic, and the biggest friend I have is no bigger than the width of a human hair. I'm surrounded by a cell wall made of silica. This is called a frustule, and it makes me look transparent and opaline, almost similar to glass, so it's really pretty. It also acts as somewhat of a constraint though, because when I divide, I form 2 new cells, and when my daughter cell forms inside the silica shell, hers isn't able to be bigger than mine because mine's rigid. And I can't expand when I'm rigid, so because of that, my baby ends up being smaller than me. And because of this, you'll never have to guess the age of a diatom, because the older it is, the smaller it is. My diatom family is actually the most diverse of the protists. Scientists are still discovering at least 1 new species every year. I make up a large part of phytoplankton in oceans and lakes. I have the ability to float in water due to the formation of long chain cells that are linked by silica spines. Some of my other diatom friends are also able to attach to surfaces by what's called a stalk that are resistant to waves and high flow water. And some of my other friends have a structure which is called a raphe, which gives them the ability to move over surfaces like sand. So this is just more of an example of how diverse all diatoms are. Along with other phytoplankton, I produce sugars and oxygen through photosynthesis. So we are one of the biggest. We make up 30% of the world's photosynthesis due to protists alone, and we're a big part of that. And this makes me an autotroph, not a heterotroph, because I'm able to form my own organic substances on my own. I do not decompose, so I can be preserved for a long time. So if a lot of us do this together, what ends up happening is we accumulate as sediment, which is called diatomaceous earth. This can be mined and used as a filtering medium for household products such as paints and toothpaste, and we also act as a filtering system in a lot of your hot tubs and pools. After we bloom, many of us die and sink to the ocean floor, where we stay undecomposed, like I had said. This removes carbon from the carbon cycle and creates a carbon sink, or a natural way of reducing carbon dioxide emissions that contribute to global climate change. Speaking of climate change, the sea has been increasing in temperature, which is decreasing my biomass. And without me, all the little fish have no substance to obtain their energy from. And without the little fish, there will also be no big fish. So my diatom friends me and my diatom friends are responsible for 40% of marine primary productivity. We're a big part of the ocean food chain, and without us, if due to global warming, if we're declined, then you humans won't have fish to harvest, and it would be a big disaster. So lastly, please do all you can to prevent a little guy like me to keep from dying, and work on that global climate change.